Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the most explosive, jaw-dropping twists hitting Los Angeles. We have exclusive, heart-stopping spoilers that will change everything you thought you knew. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's unpack the cataclysmic drama unfolding this week. The stage is set for an inevitable collision of fate and high-stakes consequences. A single, reckless punch thrown in the heat of anger has secretly ignited a devastating medical time bomb inside the Forrester mansion. Meanwhile, across town, a lethal cocktail of jealousy and madness is about to turn a romantic evening into a deadly nightmare. Two empires are on the brink of absolute collapse, and the collateral damage will be catastrophic. The silence in the Forrester mansion is deafening. It is a heavy, suffocating quiet that presses against the grand walls of the legendary estate. Donna Logan Forrester stands in the center of the opulent living room, her hands trembling violently as she holds a cold ice pack. The ice is melting rapidly, the condensation dripping down her shaking fingers, perfectly mirroring the cold dread pooling in her stomach. Sitting before her is Eric Forrester, the brilliant patriarch, the titan of the fashion industry, a man whose very name commands respect across the globe. But tonight, Eric does not look like a titan. He looks incredibly vulnerable. The dark, ugly bruise blooming across his cheek is a violent testament to the chaotic brawl at the bikini bar. Will Spencer's fist had connected with Eric's face in a moment of pure, unadulterated rage. It was a tragic miscalculation in a family feud that has spiraled completely out of control. Donna gently presses the ice to his skin, her heart aching for the man she loves. She expects him to be furious. She expects him to rage against the Spencers, to plot his next corporate retaliation. Instead, Eric looks up at her with a blank, unsettling expression. The room suddenly goes ice cold. Eric's eyes, usually so sharp and full of commanding authority, are completely vacant. He blinks, looking around the grand room as if he is trying to place where he is. Then, he speaks. The words that leave his mouth do not just shock Donna, they shatter her entire reality. Eric asks Donna about the preparations for his anniversary. But he is not talking about their anniversary. He looks directly into Donna's eyes and asks if everything is ready for his celebration with Stephanie. Stephanie Forrester. His legendary, fiercely protective, and long-deceased wife. Donna's breath catches in her throat. The ice pack slips from her trembling fingers, hitting the expensive rug with a soft thud. She stares at her husband in sheer, unadulterated terror. She tries to speak, to gently correct him, to pull him back to the present. But Eric continues to talk, completely immersed in a timeline that no longer exists. He speaks of Stephanie as if she is merely in the other room. He speaks of a past era, a ghost of a life that has been buried for years. Desperation claws at Donna's chest. She tries to pivot the conversation. She gently brings up the explosive events of the past few days. She mentions the live television interview. She reminds him of the scorching public broadcast where he looked directly into the camera and branded Katie Logan and Hope Logan as thieves. It was the interview that shook the fashion world to its core. It was the interview that provoked Will Spencer into a blind rage. Eric looks at her with genuine, heartbreaking confusion. He has absolutely no memory of the interview. The fiery, combative patriarch who declared all-out war on the Logan and Spencer empires has completely vanished. The memories of the catwalks, the corporate betrayals, the live cameras, and the bitter feuds have been wiped clean from his mind. The horrifying realization hits Donna like a freight train. This is not just a concussion from Will's punch. The blow to the head has triggered something far more insidious, something that has been lurking in the shadows of Eric's brilliant mind. Early onset Alzheimer's. The cruelest thief of all. It is not stealing dresses or jewelry, it is stealing Eric Forrester's memories, his identity, and his legacy. Donna is paralyzed by a wave of apocalyptic panic. The patriarch is losing his mind. The brilliant designer who built an empire from the ground up is fading into the fog of dementia. And the timing could not possibly be worse. The Forrester family is currently engaged in a brutal, cutthroat war with the Spencers. Ridge is pacing like a caged tiger, ready to unleash merciless wrath against Will. Steffi is fiercely defending the company. But if the Spencers find out about this? If Bill Spencer, a man who operates like a shark sensing blood in the water, discovers that the Forrester patriarch is mentally compromised? The consequences will be world-ending. Bill will use Eric's tragic vulnerability to invalidate his claims. He will argue that Eric's accusations of thievery were the ramblings of a sick man. He will tear Forrester creations apart piece by piece. Donna is trapped in an impossible, agonizing dilemma. Does she expose her husband's tragic condition to the world, stripping him of his dignity and handing the Spencers the ultimate weapon? Or does she hide the truth? Does she lie to Ridge, to Steffi, and to the vicious media, desperately trying to cover up Eric's fading mind while the corporate war rages on? Every second she stays silent, the web of lies grows thicker. The fate of Forrester Creations now rests entirely on Donna's trembling shoulders. While the Forrester legacy crumbles in the silent, shadowed halls of the mansion, a much louder, far deadlier tragedy is brewing in the vibrant heart of Los Angeles. Across town, the neon lights of Il Giardino mask a sinister plot that is about to explode into violence. Sheila is a woman who has been pushed far past the brink of sanity. Without Deacon Sharp acting as her anchor, she has plummeted straight into a terrifying abyss of psychotic obsession. She is isolated, cornered, and entirely unhinged. The loss of her husband has flipped a dangerous switch in her mind. She is no longer just a desperate ex-wife, she is a lethal predator hunting in the dark. Sheila lurks in the deep shadows of the restaurant, her face partially obscured by the dim lighting. Her eyes burn with a toxic, lethal intent as she watches the scene unfolding across the dining room. There sits Deacon Sharp, the only man she has ever truly loved, laughing and smiling. And sitting across from him is the target of Sheila's venomous rage, Dr. Taylor Hayes. The sight of Taylor and Deacon wrapped in a bubble of romantic bliss makes Sheila's blood boil. Her grip tightens on a small, concealed glass vial hidden in her palm. Sheila is not here to beg. She is not here to negotiate. She is here to execute a sinister, highly calculated assassination. Inside the vial is a powerful, untraceable hallucinogenic toxin. It is a deadly poison designed to attack the nervous system, inducing severe hallucinations, physical collapse, and ultimately, a total physiological shutdown. Sheila's twisted psychology demands a public spectacle. She wants Taylor to lose her mind. She wants the esteemed psychiatrist to collapse in a humiliating, agonizing heap right in front of Deacon. She wants Deacon to watch his new lover suffer. Sheila waits for the perfect, fleeting moment. As the waiter turns his back to prepare a fresh tray of drinks, Sheila glides through the shadows like a phantom. With practiced, terrifying precision, she uncorks the vial. A few drops of the lethal, clear liquid fall silently into a glass of expensive red wine destined for Taylor's table. The poison dissolves instantly, leaving no trace, no scent, and no warning. Sheila retreats back into the darkness, a manic, chilling smile stretching across her face. She watches with breathless anticipation as the waiter picks up the tray. He navigates through the crowded restaurant, completely unaware that he is delivering a weapon of mass destruction. He approaches Deacon and Taylor's table, placing the glasses down with a polite nod. The trap is set. The poison is waiting. Sheila's heart pounds a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She watches Taylor's hand reach out toward the stem of the glass. This is it. The moment of ultimate revenge. The moment Taylor Hayes pays for stealing her life. But fate, as always in Los Angeles, has a cruel and twisted sense of humor. Just as Taylor's fingers brush the glass, Deacon laughs at a joke she just made. In a playful, utterly tragic twist of destiny, Deacon reaches across the table. He wants to taste the vintage before Taylor drinks it. He intercepts the glass. In the shadows, Sheila's sinister smile freezes. The blood drains completely from her face. Her heart stops dead in her chest. She tries to scream, she tries to lunge forward, but her feet are glued to the floor. The sound dies in her throat, trapped in a silent scream of absolute, unadulterated horror. Deacon raises the glass to his lips. He takes a sip. Then, he takes another. The reaction is almost instantaneous. The highly concentrated hallucinogen hits Deacon's bloodstream with the force of a runaway train. The smile vanishes from his face, replaced by a look of sudden, terrifying confusion. The color drains from his skin. He blinks rapidly, his vision blurring as the toxin attacks his nervous system. He staggers, trying to stand up. His hand knocks against the table. The poisoned glass tips over, shattering on the hardwood floor in an explosion of red wine and crystal shards. Deacon gasps for air, his hands clutching his chest. The room spins violently around him. And then, he falls. Deacon collapses completely, his body hitting the floor with a sickening thud. He falls directly into Taylor's arms, his eyes rolling back in his head. The restaurant erupts into total chaos. Patrons scream, chairs scrape against the floor, and waiters rush forward. But Taylor Hayes does not panic. In a split second, the romantic lover vanishes, and the highly trained medical professional takes over. She drops to her knees, cradling Deacon's head. She checks his pulse, it is erratic, racing dangerously fast before plummeting. He is burning up, convulsing slightly as the hallucinogen ravages his brain. Taylor screams for someone to call an ambulance. She looks at the shattered glass on the floor, the dark red stain spreading across the wood. Her sharp medical instincts kick in immediately. The sudden onset. The neurological symptoms. The pinpoint pupils. This is not a heart attack. This is not a stroke. This is poison. A horrifying, chilling realization washes over Taylor. She looks at the broken glass, then at Deacon's lifeless face. That was her glass. That was her wine. This was a targeted assassination attempt. Someone just tried to murder her in cold blood, and Deacon took the bullet. From her hiding spot in the shadows, Sheila is completely paralyzed by her own monstrous mistake. Her hands are shaking so violently she can barely stand. She watches the love of her life dying on the floor, gasping for breath, poisoned by her own hand. The sheer magnitude of her catastrophic error shatters the last remaining fragments of her sanity. She has destroyed everything. She wanted to eliminate her rival, but instead, she has killed her own heart. The wail of approaching sirens pierces the night air, snapping Sheila out of her paralyzed state. The paramedics are coming. The police are coming. Sheila spins around and bolts toward the back exit. She bursts through the alleyway doors, sprinting into the cold, unforgiving night. She is running from the flashing lights, running from the horrific image of Deacon collapsing, running from the inescapable truth of what she has done. In a matter of seconds, Sheila has gone from a desperate ex-wife to the most hunted, dangerous woman in Los Angeles. The LAPD is about to launch a massive, citywide manhunt. She is cornered, desperate, and armed with nothing but her own psychotic grief. Back inside the restaurant, Taylor is performing desperate chest compressions on Deacon. Tears stream down her face as she fights to keep him alive. The paramedics burst through the doors, rushing to take over. As they load Deacon onto the stretcher, his life hanging by the thinnest, most fragile thread imaginable, Taylor looks toward the dark corner of the restaurant. She knows exactly who did this. She knows the devil is back. And she knows that this war has only just begun. The explosive shockwaves of this fateful night will tear Los Angeles apart. In the Forrester mansion, a legendary patriarch is losing his mind, leaving his empire vulnerable to a ruthless Spencer takeover. Donna is trapped in a web of lies that could destroy her family forever. And at the hospital, Deacon Sharp fights for his life while the woman who poisoned him roams the streets, a lethal predator with nothing left to lose. Every alliance will be tested. Every secret will be exposed. The battle lines are drawn in blood, and no one is safe from the impending fallout. Next. The sterile, blindingly white hum of the hospital monitors is about to be drowned out by the deafening roar of a catastrophic secret. Dr. Lee Finnegan, the unshakable pillar of strength, the woman who has stared death in the face and ripped her adopted son back from the grave, is staring at a medical chart that changes absolutely everything. The ticking time bomb is not a villain lurking in the shadows. It is a malignant, terrifying shadow growing inside her own body. Fate has just orchestrated the most cruel, inevitable collision of tragedy and high-stakes consequences, and the Finnegan family is standing directly on the fault line. This is not just a medical crisis. This is the ultimate catalyst for a family war. Lee Finnegan, a world-class physician who has spent her entire life saving others, has just discovered an abnormal tumor during a routine medical screening. The biopsy results are in, and the diagnosis is a soul-crushing confirmation: early-stage cancer. It is a highly dangerous, aggressive threat that requires immediate, brutal intervention. For a woman who commands the emergency room with an iron fist, becoming the vulnerable patient is a psychological nightmare. But the true tragedy is not the diagnosis itself. It is the devastating, self-destructive choice Lee makes in the agonizing silence of her pristine office. Outside the walls of her hospital, her family is tearing itself apart. John Finnegan is currently drowning in a toxic, delusional obsession with his birth mother, Sheila Carter. Finn has just dropped a nuclear bomb on his marriage, marching into the Cliff House and demanding that Steffi Forrester Finnegan open their doors to the woman who nearly slaughtered them in a dark alley. Steffi is going apocalyptic, fighting tooth and nail to protect her children from a venomous predator. The Finnegan marriage is fracturing at the seams, buckling under the sheer terror of Sheila's relentless orbit. Lee sees the chaos. She sees her son emotionally bleeding out on the battlefield of his own making. In a moment of heartbreaking, misguided sacrifice, Lee chooses absolute silence. She refuses to drop the agonizing weight of her cancer diagnosis onto Finn's already breaking shoulders. She convinces herself that if she reveals her lethal battle, it will be the final strike that shatters Finn's sanity and destroys his marriage to Steffi forever. Lee decides she will fight this terrifying war completely alone. She will be the silent martyr, absorbing the poison of chemotherapy while projecting the invincible armor of a flawless surgeon. It is a desperate, dangerous gamble, and it is about to backfire with catastrophic, life-altering consequences. The secret treatments begin in the darkest, most hidden corners of the medical world. Lee sneaks into private oncology clinics under the cover of night, pumping her veins full of toxic, life-saving chemicals. The physical toll is immediate and brutal. The nausea is paralyzing. The bone-deep, soul-crushing exhaustion begins to seep into her every waking moment. But Lee is a warrior. She splashes freezing water on her face, forces a pristine smile, and slips her white lab coat over her rapidly weakening frame. She walks the halls of the hospital like a ghost pretending to be a god, hiding the violent tremors in her hands and the dizzying fog clouding her brilliant mind. But the human body can only endure so much deception before it completely collapses. The exhaustion is not just physical, it is a mental suffocation. Lee is running on fumes, operating in a dangerous, sleep-deprived haze while holding the lives of innocent patients in her trembling hands. The inevitable disaster strikes on a frantic, high-pressure afternoon in the emergency ward. A high-profile, critically important patient is rushed through the double doors. The alarms are blaring, the nurses are shouting, and the adrenaline is pumping. This is the exact environment where Lee usually thrives, where her razor-sharp instincts save lives. But today, the cancer treatments have clouded her judgment. In a split second of terrifying disorientation, Lee makes a critical, near-fatal medical error. She misreads a vital chart. She orders the wrong dosage of a highly potent medication. The monitors instantly scream in a chaotic, flatlining panic. The patient codes. A team of frantic doctors shoves Lee aside, desperately fighting to reverse the catastrophic mistake before a life is lost on the operating table. They manage to stabilize the patient, but the damage is done. The flawless, untouchable reputation of Dr. Lee Finnegan is shattered in an instant. A formal medical review board is immediately triggered, and the shocking incident report is flagged in the hospital's highest administrative system. Enter John Finnegan. As a top-tier physician in the same hospital network, Finn receives the emergency alert regarding the near-fatal malpractice incident. When he sees his mother's name attached to the catastrophic error, his blood runs ice cold. This is impossible. His mother is a machine, a perfectionist who does not make reckless, amateur mistakes. Finn storms through the hospital corridors, his mind racing with 1,000 frantic questions. He kicks open the door to Lee's private office, fully prepared to demand answers, to defend her honor, to figure out who is trying to frame the great Dr. Finnegan. But the sight that greets him paralyzes him in his tracks. Lee is not sitting behind her desk projecting authority. She is collapsed on the floor, her lab coat discarded, weeping in a state of sheer, unadulterated physical agony. The invincible armor has completely melted away, leaving a frail, terrified woman fighting for her next breath. Finn drops to his knees, his medical training kicking into overdrive as he grabs her trembling hands. He sees the hidden pill bottles. He sees the oncology appointment cards spilling out of her purse. The devastating, horrific truth slams into him with the force of a freight train. The confrontation that follows is a masterclass in soap opera melodrama. The truth violently spills out in a torrent of tears and agonizing confessions. Lee admits everything. The abnormal tumor. The early-stage cancer. The grueling, secret radiation sessions. The bone-crushing exhaustion that led to the medical error. She looks into her son's horrified eyes and tells him she stayed silent because she could not bear to add to his burden while he was fighting a war over Sheila. She sacrificed her career, her health, and nearly a patient's life, all to protect him from the pain of losing his mother. Finn is absolutely devastated. The guilt hits him like a physical blow to the chest. He falls apart, sobbing into his mother's arms. The psychological torment is unbearable. For weeks, he has been obsessing over Sheila Carter. He has been fighting with his wife, risking his marriage, and tearing his family apart to advocate for a psychotic predator who gave birth to him. And all the while, the woman who actually raised him, the woman who loved him, protected him, and sacrificed everything for him, was quietly dying in the shadows. Finn's entire worldview shatters. The misplaced loyalty he felt for Sheila instantly evaporates, replaced by a suffocating, desperate need to save the mother who truly matters. The news of Lee's cancer sends a massive, seismic shockwave all the way to the Cliff House. When Steffi Forrester Finnegan receives the frantic call from her husband, her apocalyptic rage over the Sheila situation instantly vanishes. Steffi is a fierce warrior, and when her family is threatened by a legitimate tragedy, she drops her sword and raises her shield. Steffi rushes to the hospital, throwing her arms around Lee in a powerful, tear-jerking display of solidarity. The bitter feuds, the screaming matches, the toxic tension, it all fades away in the face of a terrifying medical crisis. The Finnegan family fiercely rallies around Lee. Steffi and Finn form an impenetrable wall of love and support, vowing to fight this cancer battle together. The tragedy acts as a powerful catalyst, pulling the fractured marriage back from the brink of divorce. Finn realizes the absolute absurdity of his obsession with Sheila, recognizing that his true family is standing right in front of him, fighting for survival. The emotional bond between Steffi, Finn, and Lee has never been stronger. They are united, determined, and ready to face the grueling medical journey ahead. But in the ruthless, cutthroat world of Los Angeles, a moment of vulnerability is nothing more than blood in the water for a starving shark. While the Finnegans are distracted by chemotherapy schedules and medical consultations, a sinister shadow is slithering through the sterile corridors of the hospital. Sheila Carter is watching. She has been lurking on the periphery, spiraling into total madness after being rejected by Deacon and shut out by Steffi. Sheila is a desperate, cornered predator looking for any possible entry point back into her son's life. When she uncovers the truth about Lee's cancer diagnosis and the subsequent medical error, her twisted, calculating mind goes into overdrive. This is not a tragedy to Sheila, this is the ultimate, golden opportunity. Sheila knows that Finn is currently operating in a state of severe emotional compromise. He is exhausted, guilt-ridden, and terrified of losing the woman who raised him. His psychological defenses are completely shattered. Sheila recognizes that a frontal assault on the Cliff House will never work. Steffi's guard is too high. But an emotional infiltration? A soft, manipulative strike while Finn is drowning in grief? That is a masterstroke of venomous genius. Sheila begins to orchestrate her most dangerous, calculated plot yet, using Lee's terminal vulnerability as the ultimate Trojan horse to breach the Finnegan fortress. The execution is chillingly precise. Sheila waits for the perfect moment. She tracks Finn to the hospital chapel, where he is sitting alone in the dim light, his face buried in his hands, weeping for his mother's failing health. Sheila does not approach with demands or psychotic threats. She glides into the room like a phantom, her voice dripping with a sickeningly sweet, maternal sorrow. She sits beside him, offering a gentle, comforting hand on his trembling shoulder. She plays the role of the ultimate empathetic savior, whispering words of unconditional support, manipulating his crushing guilt, and positioning herself as the only person who truly understands his agonizing pain. "I am here for you, my son," Sheila whispers, her eyes shining with fake, calculated tears. "Let me help you carry this burden. Let me be the mother you need right now." It is a psychological trap of the highest order. Finn, blinded by his desperate need for comfort and completely drained by the trauma of Lee's illness, leans into the toxic embrace. He is too exhausted to fight. He is too broken to see the venom dripping from Sheila's fangs. The cancer that is ravaging Lee's body is the exact weapon Sheila is using to infect Finn's mind. The stakes have never been higher. Steffi is currently pouring all of her energy into supporting Lee, completely unaware that the devil has just walked through the back door of her husband's shattered psyche. Sheila is slowly, methodically wrapping her manipulative tentacles around Finn, using his grief to isolate him from his wife and bind him to his birth mother. The Finnegan family thought the cancer was the greatest threat they would ever face, but they are dead wrong. The true lethal danger is the smiling psychopath who is using a tragedy to stage the ultimate, devastating takeover. This is a ticking time bomb of epic proportions. When Steffi finally uncovers the truth, when she realizes that Sheila is exploiting Lee's life-threatening illness to slither her way back into Finn's heart, the explosion will be nothing short of catastrophic. Will Finn wake up from this toxic manipulation before it is too late, or will Sheila's sinister emotional blackmail destroy the Finnegan family from the inside out? The battle lines are drawn, the ultimate betrayal is in motion, and the fallout will leave Los Angeles completely unrecognizable. Will Sheila's venomous plot destroy the Finnegans, or will Lee's battle unite them forever? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below and subscribe for more.